Hey everyone, Backyard Farmer Pat here. Today is a very exciting day for me. It's been exactly 2.5 months, yeah, about 10 weeks since I planted my very first herb in this garden. Um, I moved here to Central Florida from South Florida, and this garden had nothing, absolutely nothing, not even one form of food. And since then, I planted a ton of fruits, ton of vegetables, herbs, and over the past couple of weeks I planted a ton more trees, so I can't wait to show you guys how much I've planted in the past 2.5 months. Also, it's the end of winter, beginning of spring, so there's a lot of frost damaged plants and a lot of plants that actually need pruning. So I'm going to do a full garden walkthrough today, showing you all my tropical fruit trees and herbs and plants and peppers and everything that I'm growing. And I'm also going to be pruning as I go along, so you'll be learning with me how to prune your plants back for optimal growth. So let's get started. So first, I'm at my jackfruit tree. We just planted our jackfruit, and you can see it's a very young tree. When I bought it a few weeks ago, it was covered in leaves, but it went through that hard frost, so it lost several leaves. But you can see that there's new growth coming back. So this tree is still quite alive. So what I'm gonna do is, there's this dead branch on the very top. I'm gonna go right down to where you see the green meat, the brown, and I'm gonna cut it at a slant, at an angle. And then what I'll do is I'll come back with some wax to cover the top, and I'll show you that later in the video. So here we have another dead branch. Just clip another one here, and everything else feels, well, this one is brown. If the branch is green, of course you're gonna leave it. So now let's look at the rest. Everything else is green. This one here, we can cut it at an angle. That one looked like it's brown also. Yeah, so quite a few of the branches died back because of the hard frost. So I want to give it the very best chance. So now it's completely green. All the branches are green and alive. Let's see if there are any lower branches we need to remove. Nope, it's all good. So let's move on to the next plant. So with the blueberries, you can see it is literally laden with blueberries. And there's nothing here. There is no damage, so I'm gonna leave that one. Then we move on to my Mexican guava. This top tassel is dried out completely, so I'm gonna remove that. This one here is also dried. It just came off in my hand. Everything else looks good. I'm gonna leave my my guava. The grape was just planted. It's already showing forms of life, signs of life, of more life. So we'll leave the grape. Next, we have my starfruit tree. This one also got significant damage during the frost, but you can see there's a whole lot of new growth. You see that, those pink flowers, pink leaves, and leaves all along here. So this is awesome. So there's really not much that I need to trim here. One dead branch right here, but all in all, this one looks pretty good. That's it. Okay, so I want to show you how I trim my my peppers. For most of you, you might plant new pepper seeds every year. This is my Scotch bonnet pepper plant that I had from last year. This was actually from 2 homes ago. Like probably, yeah, this pepper plant is probably over a year old by now. And you can see it still has peppers on there, but it's very spindly looking. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna harvest all these peppers, and I'm gonna cut it back to just the very bottom, to a Y. So I'm gonna cut right here. See where I'm cutting? Cut at an angle. I'm gonna cut right here, cut at an angle, and an angle, Gonna cut right here. And by cutting this back, this is the beginning of spring. By cutting this back, all of this is gonna have new growth, and from the new growth we're gonna have tons of flowers and more peppers. So here I just pick up my branches. I'm gonna pick my peppers off, and Scotch bonnets are extremely spicy. So what I normally do is when I pick them, I freeze them and I just use pieces as needed. For most dishes, I won't even use a whole pepper unless I'm gonna put it in whole. But if I cut pieces, these peppers can last me literally several weeks. And by the time these run out, my new pepper seedlings will be ready. Those are my different kinds of Scotch bonnet. I have purple, yellow, and cachucha, which are the red ones. Right beside it, I have my Thai chili pepper, but that one is good. No damage there. Okay, next we're gonna look at the herb bed. So all in all, my veggies are looking spectacular. But when I get to my Thai Thai basil, my purple basil, it's looking pretty pathetic. And there's some, you can see it's starting to flower here, but there's a lot of dryness. So I'm gonna cut these dead branches off. As a matter of fact, I think I'm gonna cut this all the way back. What I'm doing is when I cut, I'm gonna cut right above the where I see the first leaf at the bottom. So this is the first leaf at the bottom. I'm gonna cut right above it to generate new growth. If anything is completely dead, I'm gonna remove it. So you see, this is a bottom leaf, the bottom leaf node. I'm cutting right above the bottom leaf node. By doing this, I can use the basil I cut off. I can use this basil, but now this is gonna encourage new growth. See? So I left the bottom leaf of each from each piece. And my other basil actually completely died during the frost. So I'm just gonna, I don't know if this one is gonna come back because it looks pretty dead, but I'm gonna go ahead and do the same. Cutting off all the dead leaves. I'm gonna leave the dead leaves in place because that's gonna break down. It's not disease. Normally if it's disease you want to remove it, but this is just, I know for a fact that this damage was caused during the frost. So I'm gonna cut it, chop and drop, so that it can grow back in place. Right? So I let just the bottom leaf node for each root, for each branch. And then the rest I'm going to leave at the base, and we'll see if that one comes back. I'm going to take this basil that I cut that is still good. I could have left this, you see it's already gone to flower. I could have left this, and what would have happened, it would have grown and it would have pollinated, self-pollinated, and actually it would have dropped seeds and it would grow more, but for now I'm going to cut this back. The rest, here you can see I have some Bok Choy that has gone to seed. My cilantro has gone to seed. The seeds of cilantro are actually coriander seeds. But here, these are wonderful pollinators. Every morning and every afternoon you see like a whole bunch of bees in here. So I'm gonna leave those to self-pollinate. My mint is looking great. I keep my mint in this pot instead of in the garden because the mint tends to send out runners and it goes all over the place, and before you know it, it will take over the bed. But this little pot gives me just enough mint for me and my family. My other veggie bed that's right across, you can see the mustard greens have gotten pretty big, and my tomato plant, my determinate tomato plant, is already sending out blossoms. I just planted that out I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, You can see how big that has gotten. That's a determinate tomato that will only grow to a certain size. Right underneath it, it's a pumpkin seed that I planted from seed. I actually ate a delicious piece of Japanese pumpkin. I planted the seed. It's coming up. So as soon as that gets bigger, I'm gonna transplant it. You can see my red Russian kale, my red mustard, my bok choy over here has also gone to seed. I'm allowing the seeds to dry so the seeds can drop and more bok choy can grow. Here again, you see more red mustard greens, and that's a comfrey plant. Comfrey actually is a very good. It has a whole ton of health benefits. I've heard it's very good for back aches. You can actually break the leaves and plant it and put it on your back, and it helps. There's some bok choy growing here, a variety of different things. My tomato seedling that I planted a couple days ago, it's going well. And over here I have more string beans. They're coming up, bush beans. They're coming up very slowly, but they are coming up. My strawberries are kind of slow. My tomatoes are growing very nicely. You can see right behind it. I've already built my trellises so that the tomatoes and my string beans can trellis along it. Here I have my passion fruit vine that I also brought from my previous home. When I brought it over, I chopped it back significantly as this is a passion vine that was growing on my arch. So I haven't decided yet if I want to put it in the ground or not. Um, that's I gave it a very rough chop before, so now I'm gonna go back in, cut back at an angle. See all these dead ends? Cut at an angle. And what's gonna happen, which you can already see happening, this literally had like 2 or 3 leaves just a few weeks ago, but as you can see, it's already sending out a lot of leaves. With passion fruit, it flowers from new growth, so it's actually a good thing to cut your passion fruit back every year or every after at the end of the season, so that it will spring new growth and give you more fruit. So I'm cutting this back, and I have to make up my mind if I'm gonna plant it in place right here in the ground, because I was thinking it will make a beautiful arch, a beautiful cover, moving into the walkway into my garden. But passion fruit can grow tremendously big, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to contain it if it's in the ground. So I'll decide soon. But here you can see I've cut back all the dying branches. So this passion fruit is good to go. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video. Before you start pruning, make sure you start with clean shears. So make sure you sterilize these shears with, you can use peroxide. I use peroxide and like hydrogen peroxide and cotton balls, just to wipe it off, just to make sure it's clean. All right, so let's move on to our plants. I have another passion fruit over there, but that one is pretty young. This is my Bombay Julie mango tree. It's looking good. My papaya tree completely lost its leaves after the last frost, but I do see some little signs. Oops, here, let's go. I do see little signs of growth. Let me try focusing on it. There's some signs of growth here, so I'm not giving up on it. It looks like it's a lost cause. I'm not giving up. This one looked like that one before, and this one now has some leaves. I'm not giving up. And then here is my carrie mango, and it's completely covered in blossoms. There's nothing here for me to prune. And my mulberry plant has a ton of new growth coming up. This was also hit pretty hard by the frost, but you can see it has a whole lot of new growth coming up. The leaves have been dying back. I just go in and I've been cutting off some of the dead leaves. You really don't have to, because these will fall off, but you know, makes the plant look better. Plus you see a whole lot of leaves coming up. Also, it's beginning to blossom, so this is really awesome. It's beginning to blossom, so this will be back. You can now we're up to my naseberry tree. So the naseberry tree is looking green and healthy. Um, Not a whole lot to trim here, to prune here. It has a beautiful shape. Look at that shape. It's gonna be nice and spread out. And this is my full grown. This is gonna be the big naseberry tree. I have another one that I'll show you soon. That is a dwarf. The only thing that we can possibly do here, you see that there's a lateral branch going this way. I'm gonna prune this branch off. And that way, now we have the 3 branches going this way, right? And that's so that when this lower branch, it could have actually drawn the plant down once it started bearing. So I'm gonna let it focus on these 3 branches. Also, whenever you see any branches all the way down like this, you can remove that because you don't want any fruit bearing on that. So now we're gonna focus the energy. I'm gonna come back and see if I can root that. I don't know if it's possible, but I'm gonna try and root that. All right, so moving on to my Barbados cherry. This is a cherry that we eat in Jamaica, but it's called Barbados cherry. This has a whole lot more of new growth. You see all that new growth? So that's really awesome. And then a surprise right in front of it, this little plant. I didn't mention it before because it was basically a twig. But this little plant here, it's actually a cherry, actually a curry leaf plant, and it's grown mainly in Asia. It's grown in India. It's used in a lot of curry dishes, but it's not the curry like what we have in Jamaica. This is more the Indian curry. I'm gonna be transplanting it. I actually just stuck it there. I didn't think it was gonna survive. It was basically a dry stick for all these months, or it looked like a dead stick, but now it's back. So I'm gonna transplant this. Then this is the one that I am praying for. This is my favorite tree of all. And this is my Ethiopian apple. It was covered with leaves. Had beautiful leaves when I got it, but after the frost, it basically looked like this. So I don't know if it's coming back, but let's cut it and see. Wow, so that's dry. You can see it's very dry here. There's no life here. Let's see. But it's green here. Perfect. Okay, so it's still alive. So there's still hope. There's still hope. All right, so I'm gonna trim back the dead parts. That's dead. All right, but it's green. It's still green, guys. There's still hope. So I'm praying for my OTET apple, my absolute favorite fruit of all times. All right, next is my sweetsop. So this also, if you guys remember a few weeks ago when I posted my video, this was covered with leaves. It was so healthy and beautiful, but all the leaves fell with the frost. But guys, look, it is still full of life. My sweetsop is back, will be back, and it's already coming back. So I'm not gonna trim this too much. I'm not gonna trim this too much. I'm gonna wait. What I will trim though are some of these lower branches. And for some of these trees, you notice that they're like leaning. I am gonna come back and stake the trees, but that'll be in another video. But my sweetsop is looking good. Next, we have my Eureka bush lemon, and this is now is having leaves. This blossomed profusely over the past several weeks, but of course this is way too small to actually hold the fruit. As a matter of fact, you see there's still one blossom right there. See that little pink blossom right there? There's not much to prune here because it's super tiny. So we'll leave this one and give it a chance to grow. Next, we have my Untitled Avocado, which is looking good. We had some kind of pest disease. You see all that black? Whenever you see any black on your plants, that's because it could be whiteflies or some other pest. This blackness on the leaves is actually poop. So whenever you see this, you need to address it right away and spray it. And speaking of addressing it right away, I haven't addressed it yet, but I'm gonna come back with some neem oil or horticultural oil and spray over the leaves to make sure that it stays healthy. And here's my other avocado. This is my Longneck Avocado. This also has lots of new growth, so it's doing great. Next is my yellow coat plum. And look guys, let me get a good angle. This is covered. Every inch is covered with blossoms. Look at that, the branches are just covered with blossoms. So I'm hoping to have my first plums from this tree this summer. And right beside it, my newly planted East Indian mango tree. You can see it also had a lot of damage from the from the frost we had, but you know, it will survive. It's a survivor, and you can see it's still very green. It's still very healthy. The leaves are erect, so these dried up leaves will fall off, but we will have new growth. No new growth yet, but this was just planted in the ground yesterday. And right beside it, I have I believe this is chaya, which is like a tree spinach. So this is my first time planting this. It was a gift from my realtor. I see here it has a little damaged area here, so I'll just break that off. But all in all, this looks beautiful. It has a beautiful shape, so I'm very curious to try it. Tree spinach. Then beside it, it's another jackfruit that I didn't realize when I bought my jackfruit that either my realtor or my friend Lorraine gifted me this jackfruit. So it is looking healthy. You can see the signs of growth along here. I will remove these two lower dried branches, but all in all, this is great. Behind it, not planted yet, is cassava, which grows from the root. What I'm gonna do is, I actually got this cassava when I did my mom's bed, and you can watch that video when I created a bed for my mom, and some of it is now dry. Yeah, it's green there. What I'm gonna do is plant this cassava all the way along the fence. Cassava will grow tall. It's gonna create a beautiful backdrop for the fence, and of course it's gonna form the cassava roots underground. Here is another cassava. What I will probably do is move this back along the fence along with the rest of the cassava, so I can form the backdrop there. And what I'll probably do is move my dwarf naseberry to this spot. Then over here, oh, I almost forgot. So over here I have my sugar cane. So this was not supposed to be the permanent home of the sugar cane, but it's coming up. It's doing well, and it's in the same bucket as the blackberry. The blackberry is extremely green, extremely healthy. You can see it's already sending up a lot of a lot of sprouts. You see it sprouting from the different areas. So this is doing extremely well. Not sure if it's gonna be the permanent position yet. I was in a rush to plant, so I just stuck everything in this pot. But I will come back and get it. And I forgot to show you my sugar apples. Let's look at the sugar apples. I was really concerned about my sugar apples. So here, my sugar apple is just coming to life. You can see the new growths right there. So all along the branches, we're seeing new growth. It's basically just coming to life. I'm not gonna trim this back until I see more growth and I see which branches are healthy versus dead. I'd rather just wait a little bit before I cut this one back. And right beside it, it's another sugar apple. It's tiny. This is only, it's literally a single stick in the ground, but it also, you can also see the swellings along the stem. You can also see the swellings along the stem. So this one is actually still alive. As a matter of fact, right here, let me see if you can touch it. I can see it. Right here is an actual bud. Let me see if I can stabilize this. See? That's actually a green bud right there. So this is very much alive. So I'm gonna have 2 sugar apples. All right, let's see what we have. What else we have? All right, so I haven't put these in the ground yet, but I will. This is a guava. It's a little tiny plant. I'm gonna put that in the ground. And here is a June plum. I'm gonna put this in the ground. Also, guys, I can't believe I'm almost out of space, but I'm gonna put these 2 right here. Here's where I had a well rod. That's an old well that isn't working anymore. So I'm gonna plant these 2 on either side, and then I'm gonna put some flowers around the well rod, just so that I'm not seeing those white caps. Then over here, this is my, I think it's called Juan Ma banana. It also died back during the frost, or the leaves died back, and I tore off the top leaves, but you can see there is green, and these leaves will come back, and it has already sent up a shoot. So even if this one dies back, this is a healthy shoot that is coming up from that plant. And then over this side is the other one more banana that also died back, but it has already sent 3 leaves up since the frost. Then these are just some other plants that I haven't put in the ground yet. I have lemongrass, I have cranberry hibiscus that I'm gonna put into the ground, and some ornamentals. Then over here, this is where I just cleared out this area. I have to decide if I'm gonna put my corn here, or if I'm gonna actually put some beds here. This bed I bought 2. It's pretty cheap. I'm gonna actually do a video showing you how I put it together when I put the second one together. In this corner is my dwarf naseberry that I grew from seed, and not sure if this is gonna be the permanent position yet, because I'm thinking if I plant my corn here, the corn will get good shade, good sun, but it's gonna block out the sun from my dwarf naseberry, and I'm trying to get it to grow, so I may move this one. All right, so some pretty exciting stuff is happening in my front yard. So let me show you what's going on in the front. So here I have my coconuts. My 2 coconuts, one from my friend Jackie, one from my brother-in-law George. And I am just cutting back the dead branches to allow the energy to focus on the good leaves. Over here, I'm cutting this back. Cutting back all these dead branches. All right. So hopefully this will come back. It got a bit of sunburn. And right beside it is my elderberry. And elderberry got a little bit of damage, not too much. And in this bed, they've been basically fending for themselves. Sometimes I forget to come in front, that there are plants in front. I've been focusing on the back. But the elderberry, it seems that it's already sprouting. So it is going down deep and finding the water it needs. So that's all trimmed up. And then here are my new plants that I have in front. So this one is my Adolfo mango tree. So I'm super excited. This is another gift from my realtor Carl, and I'm just removing the branches, the leaves from the lower side. But this is a very healthy tree. This just went into the ground yesterday. Then right beside it, yes, it is a plant. Right now it's just a stick, but this is gonna be an ackee tree. This is an ackee. When I first got this, look at this, something trying to get it. There's a bug. Yeah, so when I first got this tree, it had leaves on it, but then the leaves were diseased. So I picked off all the leaves, and the tree still wanted to survive. So I basically left it in a pot for a few weeks, but you can see it's still very green. It lived through the frost. It has some new growth trying to come up right now. So I'm gonna let this one survive, and we're gonna have a beautiful ackee tree. I love to see the ackee flowers. I love to see the ackees on the tree. Ackees are Jamaica's national dish, and I absolutely love it. Right beside it is my strawberry tree. also known as Jamaican cherry, but this is a cherry that we do not have or eat in Jamaica. So the proper name is the strawberry tree. So I am trimming off all the dead branches off my strawberry tree. Here we go. So we're gonna give this plant a chance to spring and survive. And guys, it's really a good idea to do all this in the beginning of spring. You want to give your plants the optimal chance to grow. Whenever I see branches crossing over each other like this, I always cut them back. All right, here we go. So now this tree looks pretty good. Let's get rid of some of these lower suckers. These are all the way down to the ground. I'm gonna get rid of these lower suckers. Let the plant focus the energy above. Perfect. All right, so that's a handsome tree. This is gonna grow pretty big. My first time growing it, but my friend's tree is like over 20 feet tall. But it's the front yard, so this is a good place to have it. It's gonna help us with some of the, give us some shade in the evening time. Then beside it is my beautiful lychee tree. There's not much damage here. This also went through the frost, and as you can see, it handled the frost very, very well. Nothing to trim here, so I'm gonna leave my lychee tree. And then here is my Jamaican poinsettia that I relocated from. It was previously over here about where the lychee is, but now it's here. And over here, I just set up some milk cartons and an old rack. There are like several old racks that were left behind on the property. So I just stuck them behind my shed. I wasn't sure where I was going to use them, but here's a perfect setup. I actually had this set up at my previous home. So here I relocated my strawberries, my bok choy, and I plan on planting some salad greens like within a week or so. And then here, my brother Nigel brought me several papayas, several papaya suckers. I'm gonna put these throughout the property, probably like in the corners. I'm still looking for some banana suckers. I want more banana suckers. And here is my lobster plant, and this looks like it's completely dead, right? But guys, you see, one of them is trying to grow. You see that green? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this all the way back. And this grows from bulbs underground. See all these bulbs? So I'm gonna separate this. I'm gonna cut it back, but really I'm gonna just separate them from the bulbs below so they have a chance to grow. All right, Miss Stormy, you trying to help me? Helping mommy? Yes, I'm gonna cut these back. Oops, this one is completely dry. I'm gonna separate this and plant them throughout the property. This is in the heliconia family. It gives the most amazing flowers. I'm gonna plant these along the perimeter, and I may even plant some around the base of the water well, of where the well was, just to have a beautiful focal point of flowers right there. Also wanted to show you real quick what is going into the garden next. So you guys remember about a week ago, I planted some seeds. I did a video on seeds I'm starting in December, in February, and I just wanted to show you real quick how those are doing. So you can see the marigolds have come right up. The corn has also come up extremely nicely. Look how big the corn is. So this is like 6 days of growth from corn kernels planted in these little trays. Because let me see how the bottom looks. I'm gonna transplant these corns like really quickly. You can see, look at that guys, a ton of root development. Also right beside it, I have gunga peas, which I plan on doing a gunga peas hedge along the front to separate my garden from the next door neighbor. Since gunga peas, they grow up into a nice big tree, and they have the most spectacular yellow flowers. Plus, of course, gunga peas or pigeon peas or gandolis, they are absolutely delicious. The others haven't come up yet, but it's still only been 6 days. My cachuchas, my butterfly beans, bush baby watermelons. Nasturtium is now beginning to grow. You can see the first one popped out. So Lots to do here. My chives haven't grown yet, but that will come. Here's another gunga peas that I planted before, but you can see this was done several weeks ago, and it's just that far versus what I did under the dome, which they're already sprouting up after just a few days. So definitely, I love this dome. Over by my chicken coop, I planted a Mexican sunflower. That big plant there is a Mexican sunflower, also a gift from my realtor Carl. I plan on starting some Mammoth Sunflowers this in March, so within the next week or two. And then I plan on planting them all the way along the fence. First of all, I'm going to wash this fence. It's been way too long. I haven't had a chance to wash it. But I'm going to plant the sunflowers along here. Sunflowers will provide shade for my chicken coop. And plus, once the seeds fall in, once the sunflowers grow and their seeds drop, my chickens are going to love that. Let's see what else. Okay, real quick. I'm also going to be planting in my tomatoes. My red tomatoes are way ready now. Look how big they got. I just planted out my I can't remember the name of the tomatoes, but I just planted some tomatoes out, and my red tomatoes are ready. My black cherry tomatoes are ready. My cucumber is ready. So I'm gonna be doing a lot of planting in my new bed that I just put soil in yesterday. And finally, here is a pepper that I had stuck somewhere in the side of the yard. Absolutely not paying it any attention. You can see how horrible it looks. I'm gonna also give this a hard pruning, but I'm gonna remove this from the bag, give it and put it in the bed with the other peppers so that it has a good chance of to live. And you can see Storm is enjoying that grass, right, Stormy? Anyway, guys, I just want to thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to me. If you guys have any questions at all regarding any of these things that I planted, or how to grow them, the right way to prune it, anything you want to know, please drop a comment below. I read and I listen and I respond to every single one of my comments. I make my very best attempt to answer questions. If I can't answer it, I'll let you know. But guys, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram, where I do sometimes do additional clips and I do additional posts. Till next time guys, let's plant, grow, and eat together. And don't forget to share what you're growing, and don't forget to share this video with others. Thanks guys. Bye.